Okay, so branding versus advertising. What's the difference? The best definition I've seen so far for this conundrum is from This Is Marketing by Seth Godin. And it's one that I've been using for a while, but only recently found my definition backed by an expert. So let's go with that one, but with a few tweaks. P.S. All the things I'm going to talk about are under the guise of marketing. So let's start with advertising. Advertising is marketing that we do that we can measure. So if we spend Facebook pounds, we should be able to measure how many Facebook pounds we're returning. We invest in a BDM, we pay them a salary, and then we can measure how much that BDM is bringing us in. We spend money investing in SEO, and through GA4, we can attribute customer revenue to customers who found us through organic search. Branding, on the other hand, is something completely different. Branding is more what the big players do, like Coca-Cola or Nike, where they spend millions of pounds on a single campaign with no real way of measuring how many new customers that campaign generated. The difference is they've got billions of pounds to invest in marketing and thus millions of pounds to spend on branding. However, most sub £10 million revenue businesses have limited cash available. If you think about golf for another example, they do lots of branding. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars each year on paying for sponsorships with players. And guess who pays for it? Us. Because let's say the new stealth driver that comes out is £600, then no doubt at least probably £300 of that money is going to the likes of Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler. So they have huge budgets, and to maintain those budgets they have to keep bringing new drivers out every year with new features and benefits, hoping that the average golfer will change their driver every couple of years, which then feed the more branding, more sponsorship, which then they can bring out more products, more features, fads, benefits, and the cycle goes round and round. You saw Rory McIlroy forced to use the new Stealth 2 driver as they probably needed the sales from that club to pay for his retainer. Small businesses just don't have that type of budget for the marketing. So really, sub £10 million businesses, you're not really in a position to invest in branding. So I think 95% of your marketing budget should be spent on advertising, not branding. That being said, we should be working on some branding for our business, but it's more of a time investment rather than a money investment. In business terms and for SMEs, we should be working on making our brand look good to our customers. So what do I mean by looking good? It could be product packaging, how we deal with customer complaints, wearing overshoes when you go in somebody's house, or even taking off your shoes, not swearing, keeping everything clean and tidy around the building. And thus the focus for SMEs when it comes to branding should be how we deal with our customers rather than how we get new customers. We could invest in the things of like the local kids football team, but again, this is more like to build brand loyalty rather than new customers. These sort of things are subjective, and it probably goes down to what the business owner's happy with. Maybe he played for that team when he was a kid and now he wants to sponsor it. So for SMEs, we shouldn't really be spending huge sums of money on branding because we can't really measure it. That being said, we could actually start to measure brand in our SME, but I would focus on probably two things. One, like customer experience. So you ask a series of questions and how they thought about the brand or the customer experience that they had. And the other one is looking at how many repeat customers you got or how many referrals you got, because that'll give you an indication of how well they like the product or service. These are probably a good measure for brand if you do want to start measuring something. So for me, branding in small businesses is more about getting customers to come back rather than filling the top of the tunnel to get new customers. And this can be done majority of the time by not investing money, but investing time, improving training, scripts, systems, processes, those types of things. Because we've only got a limited budget, we should only be investing in things that we can see a measurable return. And thus we should stick to investing our actual cash into advertising rather than branding, because we've probably got a limited amount of resources available to us to invest. You might have heard the term personal brand, and that's something completely different. So I'll go through my thoughts on personal brand as well and how it might relate to you and your SME. So there's two things we can discuss here. Firstly, it is true there are a lot of outliers out there like Gary Vee and Stephen Bartlett who have built successful personal brands. But the majority of these individuals aren't really that useful for us to look at a case study to try and replicate. They're like the Pepsi or Coca-Cola or TaylorMade of the business world, and it's tough for the everyday business owner to try and relate to their story because they've taken a whole different approach to how they do everything. And I'd probably describe those types of people, those handful of people that have been really successful like that, probably the exception that proves the rule. So secondly, I do think personal brand's important, but not necessarily for filling the top of the funnel, more from a conversion rate optimization perspective. I'd probably say 30% of the viewers for this video are probably new, and 70% of the people that are watching probably already know who I am and are probably my sales process considering whether to buy from me. So again, it's probably not a good use of my time investing loads and loads of money in personal branding to help fill the top of my funnel. It's probably going to be money going to waste. However, investing time in your personal brand and marketing material that explains where you've come from, why you do what you do, is probably going to help in your sales process and with some customer retention. So let's just recap. If you're an SME, invest 95% of your marketing budget in advertising. Advertising is where we can measure a clear return on investment, and only maybe 5% maximum in branding. You should invest time into your brand to support with customer retention and potentially in your sales process. If you want to build a personal brand, don't do that instead of advertising, but it could be useful to develop your personal story and use that to support with conversion rate and in building customer loyalty. Thanks for watching.